Once upon a time, in a far-away virtual galaxy, there was a small planet covered in snow and ice. It was a lonely place. The only person living in this icy world was a young girl named MIRDA. MIRDA had been all alone on the planet for many, many years. She was born just after her parents, who were space travellers, had settled here. The first years of her childhood were happy years, free and careless, under the protection of Mum and Dad. But the day came that her parents did not return back home. The feeling of desperation, the loneliness and the grieving when she realised it was just her now, and no matter how long she waited and how loud she called out, she was alone. Her parents never returned. In her darkest hours, she heard her mother's voice whispering in her ear, "Mirda, my special girl, never give up. I love you." Despite the harsh and cold conditions on the planet, Mirda managed to survive on her own. She wandered around day after day and learned to fish and hunt for her food. In her house, where she had once lived with her parents, she had everything she needed: books, a tinderbox, blankets and other things, and her mother's clothes. Wearing them made her feel closer to both of her parents. But Mirda was lonely. She longed for the warmth of human companionship, and the long, cold winters on the planet seemed to go on forever. She talked to the animals she met, and even though they never really answered, she imagined they did. At night, she sat outside and gazed at the stars. She fantasized about the people living there and visiting them. She would shout out, but there was never an answer, just the sound of her own voice. Then, one day, as Mirda was out hunting for food, she heard a strange noise in the distance. At first, she thought it was just the wind, but as the sound grew louder, she followed it until she came upon a small spaceship that had crash-landed behind a snowy hill. She saw a pair of human legs sticking out from underneath it and began to pull, pull, pull. The legs belonged to a young man called Dax, who had been sent on a mission to explore the ice planet, just as her parents had once done. He was a great little explorer that kept on travelling around, always craving for the next adventure. Mirda invited Dax back to her home, and as they quietly sat outside by the fishing lake, they told each other their life stories. Mirda offered to show Dax around the planet, as she knew every inch of it all too well. It wasn't long until they became good friends. They spent their days walking and talking together, and MIRDA knew she had finally found the companionship she had always longed for. In the evenings they would sit by the fireplace in her house. Dax told her about life on his own planet, a beautiful green world with forests and villages, people and animals. Time and time again she made him tell her about his travels, and she would laugh and ask him for more stories. But MIRDA couldn't shake the feeling that their time together was limited. She knew that he would eventually go back to his ship and return to his own world. And as much as it pained her, MIRDA knew that she had to let him go. But when that day came, things took a happy turn. As Dex prepared to leave, he turned to MIRDA and whispered, "I don't want to leave you here all alone. Why don't you come with me?" MIRDA cried with joy as she said yes, and followed Dax into his ship, taking the hand that her friend offered her. She whispered goodbye for now to the planet that had been her home, and set off with Dax into the unknown. So, how did the story end? Well, it didn't. This was part 1 of the story of the lonely girl on the icy planet. Soon we will see where MIRDA and Dex went next.